The digital world, it isn't just evolving anymore. It feels like it's transforming into something, well, something we barely recognize, and frankly, maybe a lot more perilous.
Mm-hmm.
Many experts are now saying this is probably the most dangerous period in digital threats we've ever seen. Every single day, it feels like the ground is shifting under us.
That's absolutely true. And the threats, they aren't just multiplying. They're becoming far more automated, much more sophisticated, really elaborate, actually.
So our defenses need to keep up.
Exactly. This means our defenses need to, they need to keep pace. They have to become higher, more intricate. And alongside that, there's a real need for a significant uplift in, cybersecurity culture and technical training within companies.
Right. So today we're going to do a deep dive into this really intricate relationship between artificial intelligence and cybersecurity.
Okay.
Our mission really is to unpack how AI isn't just changing our lives, but how it's fundamentally reshaping the very nature of digital threats and, of course, our defenses against them.
Yeah.
We've pulled together insights from, the latest discussions, news reports, expert perspectives on this whole critical subject.
Yeah.
So by the end of this, you should walk away with hopefully a clearer understanding of this landscape, which is evolving so fast. Maybe some surprising facts and some practical takeaways you can actually use to navigate it yourself.
Sounds good. And, while AI might feel like it just burst onto the scene, especially with these large language models everyone's talking about.
Yeah, like ChatGPT and others.
Exactly. It's actually been kind of a silent workhorse in cybersecurity for years. I mean, think about it. AI has been quietly detecting spam, identifying malware, doing other crucial, often invisible tasks for a long time now.
But what we've seen in just the last, 2 or 3 years? It's not just gradual change, is it? It feels like a real qualitative leap.
It really is. Experts are comparing its revolutionary impact to the internet itself.
Wow, okay. That's a big statement.
It is. But just think for a second how profoundly the internet changed your daily life.
Right.
Well, AI is now starting to dominate almost every sector you can think of. And cybersecurity is absolutely no exception. It's impacting both how attacks are launched and, critically, how our defenses are built.
And you can really see this shift, this profound change in some recent global incidents, can't you?
Absolutely. Take the investigation by the Washington Post, for example. Reuters reported on it, a suspected cyber attack, and it specifically targeted their journalists' email accounts.
Right. And what's particularly striking about that one, I think, is the specific target. It wasn't random. It was journalists. Yeah. People linked closely to international investigations.
Exactly. Some were apparently researching topics related to China and its government.
So the newspaper had to react.
They did. They had to force a password reset for all employees. Now, their core operations, client data, that wasn't affected, thankfully. But it seems clear the sensitive information of these specific international journalists, that was likely the primary target for, presumably a foreign actor.
And this really highlights why email systems are still such, appealing targets for attackers, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. They're just conduits for vast amounts of sensitive information. It's a bit like those old business email compromise attacks, where they try to modify invoices.
Yeah.
So this really hammers home the critical need for security measures that go way beyond just relying on a password. We're talking about multi-factor authentication, MFA.
Right, using something else besides the password.
Precisely. Something like your mobile phone, maybe biometrics, or another physical token. It's crucial because even if somehow your password gets stolen, the attacker still needs that second verification factor. It adds a really significant layer of defense.
And that's not just for big media outlets, right? That applies across the board.
Absolutely. Any institution, any company handling sensitive information needs these kinds of elevated defenses, period.
And it's important to remember, I think, that none of this is happening in some kind of bubble. You just glance at the news, and it's clear the international situation is incredibly delicate right now.
Very tense.
You've got ongoing armed conflicts in the Middle East. Israel, Gaza, Iran, escalating trade tensions, U.S.-China, the war in Ukraine and Russia still grinding on. Other flashpoints, too. India, Pakistan, Taiwan.
Yeah.
Some people are even calling it a kind of fragmented Third World War scenario. And these strategic-level cyber attacks are definitely part of this landscape now.
That very context, that fragility, leads us straight to another major incident. The significant cyber attack suffered by Morocco.
Right, that was huge, wasn't it?
Massive. It resulted in the filtering, basically the leaking, of millions of documents. Over 4 terabytes of data.
4 terabytes. It's hard to even picture that amount of data. What was compromised?
Well, the compromise was so deep, it directly hit the Moroccan notarial system.
Yeah.
We're talking 10 million property titles, 200,000 confidential documents leaked.
Wow.
And key state institutions were directly hit, too. The National Social Security Fund, the Ministry of Economic Inclusion, even intelligence services were impacted.
Do we know who was behind it?
The initial reports pointed towards an Algerian group. They tied it to the existing diplomatic tensions between Algeria and Morocco over the Sahara issue.
Okay. And what happened to all that stolen information?
Well, subsequently, things like Moroccan civil servant payrolls, they were just published on the dark web.
So, out there for anyone to find.
Essentially, yes. Anyone with an interest and the know-how could access it. This incident just powerfully underscores, again, the universal need for really robust security measures, even at the national level. No one's immune.
So if you kind of connect the dots between these incidents, you start to really grasp the immense value of data in today's world. It's finite, it's highly prized, and like you said, it's especially valuable because it directly feeds artificial intelligence.
Precisely. Which brings us neatly to Meta's recent policy update.
Ah, yes, Facebook, Instagram, etc.
That's right. Effective June 16th, they updated their policy to allow them to process user data based on what they're calling their legitimate interest.
Okay, legitimate interest. What does that actually mean in practice? How's it different?
Well, it's a pretty significant departure from the spirit of GDPR, the General Data Protection Regulation in Europe.
Right. Under GDPR, companies usually need your explicit consent, like an opt-in, right?
Exactly. You have to actively agree. Now, Meta, which includes Facebook, Instagram, Threads, WhatsApp, they will automatically use your information for purposes like, improving their AI systems.
Mm-hmm.
The crucial shift here is that you, the user, must actively opt out, and you have to do it application by application if you don't agree.
Ah, so the burden shifts entirely to the user.
Completely. And that's the practical hurdle, isn't it? You have to navigate each app's settings, find the right place, and formally object. Many argue this goes directly against the core idea of European data protection laws, which were meant to put users in control.
Yeah, it feels like a shift in digital agency almost. Inaction now means consent by default. That's quite a change for potentially billions of users.
It's a fundamental change. And as you mentioned earlier, this huge pool of user data, that's precisely what fuels and enhances the effectiveness of AI systems.
Yeah.
It makes your digital footprint, everything you do online, more valuable than ever before.
Okay, so let's really dig into this AI evolution now with an expert lens. It's truly remarkable how AI is moving beyond just those large language models, the LLMs, that most of us are kind of familiar with now. We're seeing the rise of these incredibly powerful AI agents.
Yes, and a key breakthrough here is that these agents, they can now make complex decisions. They can participate in things like hacking competitions and actually rank pretty highly.
Really? Hacking competition?
Yeah, they can evaluate their own responses, they can consult documentation, execute commands, and critically, they can learn from their actions. This is a massive leap forward. These AI models are increasingly capable of actual reasoning to get to conclusions, not just, processing data linearly.
Okay, but that immediately brings up a big question for everyone, especially thinking about careers, right? What does this mean for cybersecurity jobs? Is AI going to replace people? That's the common fear.
Right, that's the big question. Zooming out a bit, the general consensus among experts is that AI will not substitute human experts. It's much more likely to enhance them.
Enhance them how?
Think of it like an airline pilot and a co-pilot. The technology, the AI, can perform highly autonomous tasks, maybe even fly the plane for stretches. But in critical environments, the human pilot remains the ultimate decision maker. They're supported by the tech, made more productive by it, but they're still in charge. AI is about augmenting human capability, not replacing it.
So AI becomes a co-pilot for cybersecurity pros, helping with tasks like what?
Exactly. It could help process massive amounts of logs, maybe launch vulnerability scans, suggest potential issues, even help draft reports, things that take up a lot of time.
Okay, so it frees up the human expert for more strategic work.
Precisely. The human remains absolutely essential for interpreting the real threats from the noise, for prioritizing risks based on business context, and for making those final, crucial strategic decisions. The AI provides data and analysis. The human provides judgment.
This then leads us to that concept you hear about sometimes, digital humans. What exactly are those?
So digital humans are basically AI agents, but they're designed with human-like characteristics. Think appearance, gestures, voice, maybe even a programmed sense of empathy.
Okay.
The idea is to create more natural, more engaging interactions for applications like customer service or sales or even education.
So could you have a digital CISO, a Chief Information Security Officer run by AI? Seems like AI could handle so much of the data analysis.
That's a really interesting thought experiment. But realistically, the human CISO will almost certainly remain the ultimate responsible decision maker.
Why is that?
Well, even if you have AI assistants providing real-time data, crunching numbers on vulnerabilities, compliance stats, training needs, the human element for oversight, for final strategic choices, that's irreplaceable, at least for the foreseeable future. AI gives you the data, maybe even insights. But the human CISO brings the contextual wisdom, the ethical judgment, the nuanced understanding of organizational risk. Things algorithms just can't grasp yet, especially when you factor in unforeseen consequences or the complexities of human behavior and security culture.
Okay, that makes sense. And when we talk about the AI doing all this analysis, what kind of models are actually powering these capabilities?
Well, there's a real diversity of models being used for this kind of reasoning. You have the big names from private companies like OpenAI's GPT series, Anthropic's Claude models,
Right.
but you also have some really strong open source alternatives now, like the latest models from Mistral, for instance.
And what's the advantage of open source here?
Often it gives you more control over how data is handled, the ability to customize the model more deeply for specific, maybe sensitive applications. That can be really important.
And these models are improving fast.
Incredibly fast. It's remarkable. New functionalities are appearing almost weekly. The top performing model for a specific task can literally change from one week to the next. The pace is just relentless.
Which, of course, brings us to the flip side. AI is clearly a double-edged sword for cyber defense, isn't it? If the good guys get to use it.
So do the bad guys.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's frankly utopian to think otherwise. Cyber criminals, they operate without the constraints of compliance or policies or ethics committees. They will undoubtedly leverage AI for their attacks.
And how might they use it?
A crucial aspect is how AI lowers the barrier to entry. It simplifies complex attack methods. It makes it significantly easier for individuals with maybe less technical expertise to generate sophisticated malware, or highly convincing phishing emails, or even find and exploit vulnerabilities.
So what's the takeaway for defenders?
Proactive investment in AI for continuous defense becomes imperative. You need it just to try and, equalize the scales against attackers who are definitely using it. Ignoring AI is becoming a major strategic risk. But, and this is important, using it without proper controls or just blindly expecting it to protect you without human oversight, that's also incredibly dangerous.
You mentioned the power needed for some models. Right now, some of these huge LLMs, they consume enormous resources. Someone compared it to killing flies with cannons. Is that the future? Always needing supercomputers?
That's a great point. Looking ahead, the trend is actually strongly towards smaller, more specialized AI models. Models designed for very specific tasks or domains.
Like what?
Like, say, software development or cybersecurity threat analysis or maybe legal document review. These specialized models require significantly less training data and, crucially, less computational power.
So they could run on more normal devices.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
The long-term aim is to run these efficient models on everyday devices, think your mobile phone, even offline, for tasks like real-time translation or summarizing text without needing that constant connection to the cloud.
So specialization is key, not one giant supermodel, but lots of specialized ones.
Exactly. We're likely heading towards a future with a proliferation of specialized AI models, each excelling at a particular task, rather than one monolithic AI trying to do everything.
Okay, these specialized AIs sound powerful. But what about the limitations? We've all heard about AI hallucinations, right? Getting things wrong, making stuff up, lacking context. How do we deal with that? And who's accountable when an AI messes up?
Yeah, that's the critical question of accuracy and accountability. Right now, direct human supervision, what people call human in the loop, that's the main solution.
But can humans really supervise everything AI does? The scale seems impossible.
That's the limitation, exactly. AI can process far more information than any human or even team of humans can possibly supervise in real time. So the future might involve more tiered supervision.
Tiered supervision.
Yeah, maybe AI models supervising other more specialized AI models with humans still at the top of that pyramid. overseeing the process, setting the strategy, and making the final critical decisions, especially in sensitive areas like, say, an Automated Security Operations Center or SOC.
SOC being the Cybersecurity Command Center.
Precisely. Where teams monitor and respond to threats. You also have techniques like guardrails being developed.
Guardrails, like digital fences.
Kind of. They're designed to monitor the AI's output and prevent inappropriate or harmful responses, trying to keep it within defined ethical and operational boundaries. Though, of course, that itself brings up broader ethical questions about control and censorship.
So for businesses listening, wanting to implement AI, it can feel really overwhelming. Where do they even start? What's a smart strategic approach?
Yeah, it's a big question. How do companies bring AI in effectively without just causing chaos? The common advice is to start small, start practical. Integrate AI into routine, maybe non-value-adding tasks first.
Like what kind of tasks?
Things that free up human time. Maybe data entry, initial log sifting, report generation templates. Tasks that allow your skilled people to focus on more strategic decisions.
So a gradual approach.
Definitely. Take a slow and steady approach. Let employees see the tangible benefits. Let them get used to having AI as a kind of colleague. This gradual integration is absolutely essential for managing the cultural shift that needs to happen within the organization. It's as much about people as it is about technology.
And as we integrate AI more deeply, the whole issue of ethics and regulation looms large. You often hear AI models described as black boxes, right? We don't always know how they were trained or exactly why they reach certain conclusions.
Exactly, the black box problem. So looking at the bigger picture for regulation, there are some crucial aspects. Transparency is key, knowing how models were trained, what data was used. That's vital for detecting biases or potential problems.
Okay, transparency. What else?
Explainability. The ability to actually trace and understand, at least to some degree, an AI model's reasoning process. How did it get from A to B? Then, of course, ensuring models are unbiased, or as unbiased as possible, and that user data isn't misused for future training without consent. That includes the need for really clear opt-in or opt-out mechanisms we talked about earlier.
And auditing these things must be incredibly complex.
Far more complex than auditing traditional software. It's a huge challenge for regulators. It's not just about checking what the AI does, but trying to understand how and why it does it. That's a much harder problem.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit now, maybe to something that impacts your wallet and your daily online life even more directly. Those social media algorithms, thinking Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, they're entirely AI-powered, aren't they? And they're meticulously designed just to keep you scrolling, keep you engaged.
Right, and that engagement directly fuels their advertising model. These algorithms build up incredibly detailed profiles of you, the user, so they can present you with hyper-targeted ads for products and services.
Which leads straight to the growing danger of impulse buying online. It's just so easy now with one-click purchasing, and those ads can feel eerily relevant sometimes.
They really can. It definitely begs the question, how much conscious control do you really have over those split-second urges to buy when an ad hits just right?
And there are real risks involved, too.
Yeah.
Places like Cybersecurity, they highlight some common scams you really need to be aware of.
Yeah, what are some examples?
Well, the classic one.
Yeah.
You buy something and the product just never arrives, full stop.
Okay, yeah.
Or maybe you order something and what arrives is completely different. It's falsified, maybe really low quality, looks nothing like the picture online. We've all seen those what I ordered versus what I got memes, right?
Oh, yeah, those are grimly funny sometimes.
A really big one now is unwanted subscriptions. You sign up for something, maybe a free trial, and then find it's nearly impossible to cancel. It's often hidden in tiny print or buried deep in some obscure account settings.
The subscription trap. Vicious.
Definitely. And then there are other scams like, phantom stores that look real but aren't, or fake contests just designed to harvest your personal data or install malware.
So what's the defense against all this?
Ultimately, the recommendation is pretty clear. It may be hard to follow sometimes. It's about exercising significant self-control over those impulses.
Easier said than done.
True. But also proceeding with extreme caution online. And always checking the small print, reading reviews if possible, understanding the return process before you click that buy button.
So your ability to just pause, to resist that instant click, that's actually a key personal defense in this whole algorithm-driven shopping world.
Exactly. So there you have it. AI. It's not just coming, it's here. It's evolving at this incredible pace, and it's fundamentally changing both the cyber threat landscape and how we interact with technology every single day.
Yeah, it's definitely a topic we'll have to keep revisiting. The pace of development means there's always something new to understand, something new to unpack.
Absolutely. And critically, as you've highlighted, this means the human role, your role, remains absolutely central in this evolving landscape.
Mm-hmm. Technology is a tool.
Right. So here's a thought to leave you with. In a world where AI is rapidly learning to think for us in some ways, to process vast data, spot patterns, even make recommendations or decisions, what new skills we need to develop to stay ahead, how can you truly differentiate your unique human intelligence, your judgment, your creativity, and how do you ensure you're always the one ultimately making the final critical call?
That's the key question going forward.
Something to think about. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.